Good morning, everyone. Adam Welch here from Insurance Agency Marketing Services. Joining me today is John Enting. We are going to be taking a look at the National Guardian Life NGL Funeral Trust Funding, and John is really quite the expert in this. This is a big part of John's business. John's a top producing advisor with us here at Insurance Agency Marketing and makes the NGL product a big part of his business. So he's very knowledgeable about the ins and outs of NGL, and he's going to take you through the great features of the Asset Guard and their funeral trust product, go through some of the ins and outs and why you need to implement this into your practice and really why you should be considering that to increase your overall levels of business. So it should be a great presentation we have in store for you. Before we get things moving here, I just want to go through some housekeeping items. First of all, throughout the course of the presentation, if there's any questions, please feel free to type those in the question box on your control panel and send those over. We will hold all questions until the end of the presentation here, so we will get to those questions at the end, but please don't hesitate to ask questions out there. So please feel free to send those over. Additionally, in some of the early slides here, there are going to be a couple of poll questions. Your participation in those polls is greatly appreciated. It helps us get additional information that would be pertinent that you're interested in out to you. So there's going to be a couple of items where we want to gauge your interest and be happy to send some additional information out. So your participation in those polls, just simple yes or no answers, is greatly appreciated. So before I get things going here and hand things over to John Enting, I just want to take a few minutes going through here. I see some familiar names and also see some new names on the webinar here today. So I want to make sure everyone's well aware of the great services and rewards we have available for you here at IAMS, and make sure everyone's really utilizing as much of these as possible. So the first item I want to visit with you about are a couple of business builders here. So on the screen, you see our Referred Producer Program and the Marketing Reimbursement Program. Really a great way to earn some additional cash in your pocket with these two items here. So the first one I want to visit about is that Referred Producer Program. Just like you all out in the field, the most qualified lead you can receive out there is a referral. I don't care how much you're paying for your lead program, a lead is still a lead. Getting a referral from an existing client, it's the highest compliment and again, the most qualified lead out there. Well, the same holds true for us here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. So those of you out there in the field, if you have any folks in your network that you know are doing business in the life and annuity markets and are not doing business with us here at IAMS, we want to encourage you to make that introduction and pass their name along. So how this works is once you pass along that referral and once they contract with one or more of our companies here at IAMS, we'll cut you a check for $50 right then and there as a thank you for making that introduction. And then once they're contracted and start doing business, that's when the real cash can start to accumulate for you. So you can see this example. If you were to refer over 3 agents to IAMS, and all 3 of those agents are $1 million a year producers, and let's just call it annuity and single premium life to keep it simple there. Just rough numbers, that's an additional $6,000 cash in your pocket simply just by making that introduction and passing their information along to us and getting them going with us here at IAMS. So we want to encourage you to keep us in mind for those referrals. If there's anyone out there you feel would benefit from working with us here at IAMS, please do pass them along. We want to reward you for that. Important to note that override on that referral's business, that's not coming out of their commission or your commission, that's coming out of our pocket directly to you as a thank you. So keep that in mind. Additionally, we do also have a great marketing reimbursement program. This is a great way to potentially cut your marketing expenses in half based on the business you write with us. So again, just using some rough numbers here, for every $100,000 in premium, be it annuity or single premium life, we do prorate that for target life premium for maybe some IUL or no lapse guarantee business. But rough numbers, every $100,000 in premium you submit with us, we'll set aside $200 in a marketing reimbursement account. Of course, the more you write with us, the more that account's going to grow. And if you hold a client seminar or a client appreciation event or even need new business cards, whatever that expense is, as long as it's related towards marketing yourself and building your business, send us the receipts and we will cut you a check for up to half of those expenses based on what you have in that account. So a great way to kind of cost share in your marketing expenses. Our new producer bonus program, a great program to take advantage of for those of you that are new to us here at IAMS. How this program works is upon your first 6 months of getting contracted with any of our carriers here at IAMS, you immediately become eligible for the new producer bonus. And your first pieces of business you write with us here in those first 6 months can qualify for one of these great rewards. So we have 3 different tiers to cash in on. If you submit $100,000 in annuity or single premium life business in your first 6 months, you can earn up to a $750 cash bonus or a subscription to a 2-year website or the latest generation iPad. If you have more than $100,000 and you can cash in at that $300,000 level, the rewards go up from there. That $750 cash bonus turns into a $1,500 gift card. We can set aside an additional $2,000 in marketing reimbursement to really kind of kickstart that marketing reimbursement account for you. Or you can choose that Social Security program with a 3,000-piece mailing. If you can suppress that $300,000 level and want to hold off until you hit $500,000, the rewards, of course, get even better. It goes all the way up to a Ritz-Carlton travel package or seminar coaching with 2 of our elite producers here at IAMS, Matt Gill and Dave Pemper, consistent qualifiers for all of our top producer trips, and they have used seminars to really build their business and do a fantastic job with that, and they will make their seminar system available to you if you hit that level. For the new producer bonus, and it would come along with a 5,000-piece mailing with Matt Gill and 4,000-piece mailing for Dave Pemper to help you fill that room. But they will make that seminar system available along with some great coaching from those individuals. So great options there to reward you for your new pieces of business that you write with us, for those of you new to us here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. So another thank you for your business. Back office support, just real quick, service here, it's the last word in our title here, Insurance Agency Marketing Services. It's what's really helped us build this into where we are today. We've been in business 31 going on 32 years now, and really what we pride ourselves on setting ourselves apart from our competition is the service we provide the independent agents. You don't have an easy job by any means out there in the field as an independent agent. There's a lot that falls on your shoulders. We want to help shoulder that some of that workload for you and help you work smarter, not harder, be more efficient out there. So everything from sales support, what we like to say submission to commission support. So everything on the sales support side with case design and product selection, running quotes, getting you all the forms you need to write the business, to the back end. Once the business is written, we want to help you and support you on the back end administrative side as well. Have a great team of new business case managers that will follow up on your business, make sure everything gets pushed along with the carriers as quickly as possible so we can get that business placed and get you paid as quick as possible. Very experienced team of life and annuity marketers here to help you with that case design and help you running the quotes. We do also have access to top sales expertise and coaching. Great example is our webinar here today with John Enting talking to you about this great concept and great product from National Guardian Life. So do have access to elite sales expertise and coaching out there as well. So again, this is just a short list of everything we have available, but the whole idea here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services is helping you be more efficient and helping you on the service side as much as possible so you can work smarter, not harder, not get bogged down with a lot of the admin tasks. So additionally, we do also have a full creative marketing department here. You may or may not be aware of that with us here at IAMS, but Josh and Tasia and their team do a fantastic job on the creative side. So we have a number of different solutions available, just taking it one at a time here, some turnkey solutions. These are flyers and brochures and items of that nature that are ready to go out, just need to be customized with your information. Very quick turnaround time on that, but they can be anything from just brochures and flyers to have in the lobby of your office for clients and prospects to pick up and glance at about some services that you may be able to help them with. But turnkey solutions that are ready to go out just need to be customized with your information. We offer some agency solutions, so if you're in need of building a brand or perhaps want to rebrand, we can assist you with the logo design and get that new brand messaging placed on business cards and your stationery and letterhead. We also offer solutions on the digital side, so digital marketing with the social media media and email marketing. We can customize and create a website for you and keep that up to date for you. So a number of different options to take advantage of. But we are not in the creative business to make money. We're in the creative business to support your life insurance and annuity business out there. So you will find that the pricing is extremely competitive. Oftentimes, we think you're going to find that we are significantly cheaper than your local advertising firm. So again, we're not in that creative business to make money. We want to be in that business to support your life insurance and annuity business. So keep that in mind for any of your creative needs, branding needs. We do have a fantastic team here to help support you. Our website, www.iamsinc.com. A lot of great information and resources available to you just a couple clicks away on our website. Of course, it's always available 24/7 online, so anything you may need, perhaps after hours, if you need some forms, we have a form engine out there. We do have our term quoting engine for term quotes and even some guaranteed universal life quotes. It's actually what we use on the life insurance side here to run your term quotes. So that is available on our website. And a lot of great links take you to some different industry sites and always have our current life and annuity product grids out there as well. So if you've not yet registered for our website, definitely encourage you to visit iamsinc.com and register for that website so you can get access to all that great information. Okay, IAMS Wealth Management, and this is actually going to bring me to our first poll of the day. We have recently here launched a registered investment advisor, and that is IAMS Wealth Management. So very simply, this poll here that should be on your screen now, yes or no, would you be interested in learning a bit more about what we have to offer with IAMS Wealth Management? We can get some additional information out to you. But if you've not yet looked at adding fee-based asset management to your business, there are a number of reasons why you should consider that. One, there's a lot of question out there still, even with the delay in the DOL rule. There's still a lot of uncertainty out there. So being prepared and being ready to continue doing business as usual by becoming an investment advisor representative with IAMS Wealth is a great way to ensure that you can continue doing business as usual. But even over and above that, it's really going to add another service to your offering there, and clients are going to view you as more of a holistic advisor. You're no longer just their insurance representative. You're now more of a holistic advisor. So you can not only assist them with their fixed income needs and insurance needs, but also their wealth management and wealth preservation. So adding fee-based asset management to your business means you're going to get an increase in revenue. You're going to get some recurring revenue based on the fees that you generate from those assets under management. You're also likely going to see an increase in your overall fixed and insurance business as well. Again, because you are going to be more of a holistic advisor, more of a one-stop shop for your clients, to be cliche. You're going to see an improvement in your client retention. Going back to the holistic, that's kind of the theme here, being able to offer a full range of products and services, now including wealth management and asset management. And then that's going to go a long way in strengthening client relationships. So a lot of great reasons there. We have a fantastic onboarding process in place, whether or not you're Series 65 licensed. We can help you with that. If you're not currently Series 65 licensed, we have a great onboarding program to get you all the materials you need to study for that exam and get you ready to pass it right away. If you are currently in this business and perhaps like to explore a new RIA, our team in IAMS Wealth Management can certainly help you make that transition as smooth as possible and get you registered. So looks like a vast majority of you did respond. Thank you to those of you that did. Those of you that responded yes, we will get some additional information out to you. I'm going to close this out and keep us moving here so I don't take up too much of John's time. But the next item I want to visit about is actually going to be our second poll question of the day, our very popular all expense paid life and annuity academy. And this poll here, again, yes or no. If you respond yes, it's certainly not a commitment to join us, but it's just indicating your interest and keeping up to date on future dates, and we'll get some additional details out to you about the meeting and what all is entailed. But this is really a tremendous meeting. Bring you out for a couple of days. It is all expense paid, so we'll take care of your travel expenses, your flight, hotel, meals, all of that is on us. It just costs you a couple of days out of your time. And we know that taking 2 days out of the out of your time is 2 days you're not going to be in the field. So that's expensive in and of itself. It's 2 days you're not meeting with clients and building those relationships and making those sales. So we want to load you up with as much information as possible in those 2 days. And this is not your typical product roadshow that you may have attended with other organizations out there. This is more of a sales training meeting and sales concept meeting. It's very conceptual in nature. While there is going to be some product information, we're in that business. It's really going to be geared towards giving you the sales tools and ideas to take back and implement and help you increase your levels of production. So we're going to bring out several of our top producing agents, including John Enting joins us out there, and some others. We'll go over some of the systems and processes that they use and they implement in their business that they've used to take their business to such the successful level and an elite level with us here at IAMS, and make some of those tools available to you. Go over some different software tools, including our retirement analyzer software and some other software tools to implement to make your life easier and make your presentations better and help you increase your sales there. We'll go over large life case marketing, including the business insurance concepts, so buy, sell, key man, some of those items to get you in front of some higher dollar premium life insurance cases. And then also go over some different wealth transfer concepts and tools we have available in the form of single premium life and some of those more advanced planning. So there's a lot of information crammed into those 2 days, but our hope is that you're going to be able to take 1 or 2 items that's really going to stick with you, and you'll be able to take that back and take action on it and implement it in your business and see a nice increase in your life and annuity production there. So that is our again, all expense paid Life and Annuity Academy. We did just wrap up our final one for 2017. We're working on getting the date scheduled for 2018. So those of you that responded yes to this poll, we will keep you updated on the future training dates, and you will be the first to know. And we'll keep you on the list to let you know about that and see if we can get you out there. So keep that in mind. That's our Great Life and Annuity Academy. All right, the final thing I want to mention here before I hand things over to John is our 2018 Marketing Summit. This is going to be held February 25th through the 28th out in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona at the Boulders Resort and Spa. Just a tremendous time to visit Scottsdale, and can't imagine a better location out in Scottsdale. Great golf. There's 2 golf courses on the property, a great tennis facility, tennis complex, and the spas and restaurants are incredible as well. So be able to get you out there for a few days, get some good rest and relaxation, reward you for a good year's work, and likely have some great education out there as well. So that is our 2018 Marketing Summit. Give us a call. Let us know that you're interested in attending that, and we'll go over the details to get you on that meeting. So it should be a great trip. Still is a little bit of time to qualify yet this year, but give us a call. Let us know what we can do to help you out, and so we can get you on that trip. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Mr. Enting here to talk about the National Guardian Life Funeral Trust and the asset guard plan with National Guardian Life. So with that, it's all yours, John.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Adam, and good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning, so excited about that. A lot of work to do, but looking forward to the weekend here in Ohio. First of all, I'd just like to say to you that today, in talking about the NGL Funeral Trust funding, I'm going to give you a broad overview of what that looks like, and I'll talk about the opportunity that's going to exist for both new and existing clients in your business. One thing I would like to point out is that, I'm running a practice here in Columbus, Ohio. So we're seeing clients every week. We're in the same market that the majority of you are in. And this is really just an ancillary program that we added in with our clients about 14 years ago now, that we've been doing business with National Guardian Life. And it's a nice way to supplement the income that's coming into your agency, or as I call it, building another leg on that income stool to help you grow your business. So Adam, I can't see the presentation up here. Can you pull that up for us?
Yeah, so you cannot see my screen.
No.
Okay.
I can see the interest in our Life and Annuity Academy poll results.
Oh, perhaps I didn't close that out.
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Sorry about that.
So no, that's okay. Go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll talk about that. So the opportunity was brought to me about 14 years ago from a mentor of mine in the business, and I didn't know anything about National Guardian Life or a funeral trust. But he told me about the opportunity, and once I started investigating it and talking to my clients about it, we found there were a lot of good benefits, such as the trusts that are used to hold the assets are actually free and provided at National Guardian Life. We'll talk about the product we use to fund that trust. I'll give you some presentation ideas and tools that you can use immediately, and then we'll talk about National Guardian Life itself as a company. So first of all, with the opportunity, it's big out there. As we all know, with the aging population that's coming in, there's a lot of opportunities to do planning. And with any planning that you're doing, whether you're working in the annuity market or managed money market, if you're doing planning for a client, obviously we got to look at their options. We got to figure out what the best plan is for that client, and then show them where to get the money from to be able to go ahead and implement that plan. So funeral and final expenses aren't any different. Someone's going to determine the services and pay the bill when you pass away, and the question really is going to become who's going to do it and when are they going to do it. So you can either get your affairs in order prior to your passing away and make sure that you have that done for your family, or you could be put in a position like I was put in, and tell you a little story about me where it was left to the survivor. I'm the youngest of 5. I've always been the entrepreneur in the family, but with that comes the burden of always being the one that's sought after when there's an issue or a problem in the family. So that being said, my mom and dad divorced when I was 2 years old. So I wasn't real close with my father. I knew him, but we didn't, see each other every day. And my dad passed away on January 21st of 2011. And I found myself sitting in a funeral director's office, and he was asking me questions like, what was my dad's mother's maiden name? What was his highest rank in the military? His favorite flower, his favorite hymn? And I'll be quite frank with you, I had no idea the answer to those questions. But what did occur to me was how many families I had helped out over the preceding years in getting this done for them, even though my father didn't have that planning in order. Being put in that position, it just made me realize that this is really critical and crucial for our clients to not only know about, but to also get implemented into that planning process. So there's a couple different ways with National Guardian Life. They offer a couple choices. You can plan and pay for the funeral. That's the pre-need side. That's where you go into a funeral home and you pay for your expenses up front, or you can set aside funds for the anticipated expenses that are coming down the pike. And that's the final expense side. And that's where we all fall into as a distribution partner with National Guardian Life. So we always talk to our clients about how much does a funeral cost, and we ask them to tell us, because the answers we get are all over the board. But we tell them, the average adult funeral is around $14,000, and then we tell them that, actually we ask them that if something happened to them yesterday, how would your funeral be paid for today? And then we want to listen to that answer, because even if they currently own life insurance policies, we'll be able to show you how to convert that into a National Guardian Life plan and really give them some protection of their cash value inside of their life insurance plans. So we all know the opportunity is huge. What's interesting with this product is they did a national survey. 72% thought it was a good idea to pre-plan, but 64% of the people had not taken any steps to do so. And what we quickly realized is, we think the reason for that is, I don't think a married couple wakes up on a beautiful morning and looks at each other and says, hey, let's go down and pick our caskets out at the funeral home. So, there's the human mind in a study I read about can comprehend its own demise for about 11 seconds, and then the person quits thinking about it. And your clients aren't any different. Like I told you, I'm running a practice here in Ohio, and we're working with the same people you're working with. The only difference is we're bringing this to their attention and we're implementing the plan with them. So we all know this market. I had the opportunity to speak at IAMS for their Producers Academy last week. I was in Iowa, and I looked out upon the crowd, and I couldn't believe how many young advisors. I'm going to be 54 coming up in March. And I was on a sales conference I took my son last year, and he looked at me and he said, "Gee, Dad, you're not the young advisor anymore." And the reason I say that, what an exciting time if you are a young advisor. You're in a great market. This market over the next 20 years, 80 million people are going to file for Social Security benefits. So what that does is that means that by 2025, there's going to be almost twice as many seniors as there are today. So we're in the right market for all the planning we do, and we're certainly in the right market to help people get their final expense planning done as well. Now, how we start our conversations with our clients on this is a lot of different ways, but one of them that we like to point out to them is that 69% of all Americans older than 65 are going to need nursing home care. It's just the plain fact, and the reality is 93% of Americans have absolutely done nothing to protect their lifetime worth of savings. So when we talk to a client, we will point this out to them, and we will tell them that, hey, if you never buy any protection to take care of you, if you need nursing care, the government's going to make you spend your money down. And so when we point that out to them, we'll also point out that when you go through that process, at some point, if you need care long enough and your assets don't support that care, you're going to try to need to qualify for Medicaid. And that's where this product is perfect, because it's going to protect that money from the Medicaid spend down situation. So how does it all fit together? Really, all we're doing is we're taking the protection of life insurance and we're combining it with an irrevocable funeral trust. We're motivating the clients to set the money aside today that they'll need for the final expenses, and then we're explaining to them that by allowing that money to be put into the irrevocable trust, they're effectively spending their assets down, and it may help prevent them from having that money counted against them in a Medicaid consideration case. So the trust and National Guardian Life, let's talk a little bit about those. What they will do is they'll give the client protection from creditors. Any benefits that pay out at death are going to come out income tax free. The funds are available immediately. Within 48 hours, the funds are at the funeral home of their choosing. The trusts are free. I work with an elder law attorney. He was right next door to my office. He actually just this past month bought the building down the street from me, and I'm going to be moving into their large office space, and we're going to take that over next door. But through my relationship with him, it's not uncommon when people want to protect money that they'll come in and pay him $7,500 to $10,000 just to create an irrevocable trust to hold assets to protect them from that Medicaid spend down. The trusts here are free at National Guardian Life. Everyone's going to qualify to assign their life policy to that trust. The proceeds will be used to pay for funeral expenses. There's no probate cost, no delays on the money coming out. And what's really important is the funds are totally portable. And the reason I point that out is if you go prepay at your local funeral home, and let's say you're 65 years old and one of your kids takes a job down in Florida and tells you that, I'm assuming they're here in Ohio with me, and they come to me and say, hey, my son just took a job down in Florida. I think we're going to move down there to be closer to the grandchildren. This program's used at any funeral home in the country. So all you have to do is walk in with the policy and they're going to accept it, which means if you move and you've prepaid in Ohio, you don't have to worry about messing around with that program at a funeral home, because with NGL, it's going to be able to be used anywhere. So how do the trusts compare to traditional savings instruments? I'm going to leave this up here for the next few seconds just to let you take a look. But everything that we're looking to accomplish when we're protecting money is going to be done with this irrevocable funeral trust. And you'll see that all the other financial instruments that we would all be very familiar with are really not going to meet the needs of what we're trying to get done here. So the irrevocable funeral trust is actually, it's the perfect product for protecting money. So the next question usually comes up is, how's it work? Well, really, it's a pretty simple process. The first thing is we're going to talk to the client about the importance of pre-planning ahead, and then we're going to find out where those funds are so that we can motivate them to go ahead and put the money aside and know that it'll never come out of that plan until they pass away. So what we're basically doing is we're buying a life insurance policy. Now, unlike a traditional single premium life where you put in $15,000 and all of a sudden you have $25,000 in death benefit, this does not work that way. What will happen is if you put in $15,000, you may start with $15,600 of immediate death benefit. But what will happen is they will grow that death benefit at a simple interest rate, and they will grow it daily. So what happens is once that policy is issued, 45 days after it's issued, it's put into the irrevocable funeral trust. That's where it's going to start earning the interest and the growth. That's where the funds get protected. That's where they get protected from the nursing home and the creditors. And when it pays out, it's going to pay out within 48 hours to the funeral home. I've been writing this so long, I usually get a death claim about once a month. We had one last month. The client called us, said, hey, Al has passed away. We found out what funeral home he was at. I called that funeral home. I got their fax number. I called National Guardian Life with the policy number. I gave them the fax number of the funeral home. And at that point, I was out of the process. And the funeral director and National Guardian Life worked together on that form. And within 48 hours, that money was at the funeral home to take care of the funeral. Now, because you're protecting the money from a Medicaid spend down situation, if you put in $15,000 and the funeral was only $13,500, that extra $1,500 will be paid back to the estate of that person. And the reason for that is they gave up all ownership in order to protect the money, so it has to be paid back to the estate if there is excess funds. So there's two different trusts with National Guardian Life. The first one is the Funeral Expense Trust. In Ohio, and I'm going to reference Ohio because that's where I'm at, and then I'll show you a chart. I see we have a lot of people on here this morning, so probably in all different states. But I'll show you a chart of what your state looks like. But with the Funeral Expense Trust in Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 per person in it, and it'll give them the ability to exclude that asset from Medicaid when applying immediately. An example of that, I work with the elder law attorney next door to me, and it's not uncommon for him to come into me. He's had a new client come in that they're trying, they're spending their money at a nursing home. They're trying to protect what they can, and he'll say to me, hey, put $15,000 for each one of these clients, the married couple, into the funeral trust, and let's get that 30 grand off the table immediately. So what will happen at that point, again, is when the client passes away, we'll pay the funeral expenses, and then the excess is going back to the estate of the insured. Now, they also have the estate planning trust. This you can put up to $100,000 per client. And the only difference with the plan is it has a 5-year look back on it. But after the money has been in there for 5 years, if your client would go into a nursing home, this money can never be counted against them, and they would never have to spend it in a nursing home spend down situation. If they only had the estate planning trust, you could certainly use it to pay the funeral funds or the funeral expenses first out of the trust. The difference is any excess funds go to the beneficiary of the insured's estate. So that's the difference there. But the common question I get from new agents is, when do I use which trust? So the next slide we'll take a look at will show you that when we're using that funeral expense trust, maybe we're in crisis planning mode. The beautiful thing about the plan, you could have a current client today or a new client that comes in through your marketing campaign that says, hey, you know what, I am concerned about this. I'd like to do it, but my husband's in the nursing home already. Well, you don't even have to see the husband. If the person on the application cannot answer no to the health questions, then the spouse or the child can sign for them without you ever seeing the client. So if we're in crisis planning, we got someone in the funeral home, I can have that spouse of that client in my office. We can still do the plan for the client in care, and I don't ever have to see that client. Or maybe Medicaid's possible in the next 5 years. Maybe you have a client who right now they have some money, but they are spending through it, and it's very possible within 5 years they're going to have to go on Medicaid because they're going to be broke. What a great way to protect some money. Or I do a lot of seminar speaking. It's how we get a lot of our new clientele. Every client that comes into me on my questionnaire with them, there's a simple question: have you prepaid your funeral? And we'll get a lot of clients that say, no, you know, we've been thinking about going to a nursing home and doing it, or a funeral home, but we've never made our way in there. We really would like to just get that money set aside and know that those dollars are protected now. Now on the estate planning trust, with this client, Medicaid's a non-issue now or at least 5 years in the future. I love to use the story of a couple retired teachers that are my clients here in Columbus, and basically what happened with them is they had a lot of money. He was a double dipper in the education community, so he has a really nice pension, and they told me, John, we're never buying long-term care insurance, but we do want to know that if all heck would break loose and we had to spend all of our money, that at least our children would receive $100,000 each. And so what we did is we wrote a $100,000 plan on each one of them, because they just easily want to transfer that wealth to the children. They know they're never going to need that money again in their lifetime. And they're in great health. They still are to this day. I think we're almost 4 years through the 5 years. So that's the real opportunity, is that gives you the ability to talk about a higher case amount. And also, when we get to the page that shows you what you can write as far as a funeral trust, I'll show you where the estate planning trust can come into play for those of you who are in a state where your funeral expense trust amounts are very low. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide there, Adam. We'll talk about the product itself. It's called the NGL Asset Guard. It's just a fixed rate life product that when we combine it with that funeral trust, we're going to give them an increasing death benefit, but more importantly, we're going to give them that financial protection for their final expense planning. And then when we go to the next slide, we're going to see the individual state limits. So I have a good friend of mine who lived in Iowa for quite a while, and he had a lower limit, as you can see there in Iowa. In Ohio, we can put up to $15,000 into the trust, but you can see Iowa is $11,566. And my other friend in Florida, he can't sell the funeral trust at all. So here's what I would say to you. If you're looking at this and you're in a state that has a low amount that you can put into the funeral trust, if you have a client that's, you know, Medicaid's not likely or nursing home stay in the next 5 years, then go ahead and use the estate planning trust to get the funeral planning set up, because you can do $15,000 into the estate planning trust. You just need to convey to the client, in other words, if I was in Florida, I'd say, hey, to the client, I would love to put the $15,000 in the funeral trust. Florida doesn't allow it, but what we can do is put $15,000 in the estate planning trust. The only difference, Mrs. Jones, is going to be there's a 5-year look back on the money, but you're healthy enough. Care's not in your near future. We're pretty confident you'll get through that, barring some unforeseen event. So you can still write it. You know, even if you were in a state that, I think Nebraska's pretty low on here too. let's see here, $4,916. So if I wanted to do a $15,000 plan, I'd fund $4,916 into that funeral expense trust, and then I would put the remaining $10,000, what is that, $84 into the estate planning trust. So there's still a way to be able to do it. You just got to get creative. So you can skip the next one, Adam. Go to the next one for me. Here's the expenses that are going to be paid you can skip that. Here's the expenses that are going to be paid by the Irrevocable Funeral Trust. So really everything that we're looking to get done with a funeral plan for a client, it's all going to be there, even down to the transfer of deceased. So if a client was, in Florida and passed away there on vacation, it would pay for the transfer to get the body back here if they were wanting to be buried in Ohio. So that pretty much covers that. We'll talk about the plan itself. I talk about the single pay because that's all I do in my practice. We can write a minimum face amount of $500 all the way up to $100,000 per person. You get to pick your client's growth rate. You can choose it all the way up to 2.25%. What we do here at Inting Financial Services is we give everybody 2% across the board. We always have and we always will. The reason for that is we don't want to ever have to explain why we were given one client one rate and another client another rate. We feel if we give them 2%, that's a very fair rate. And you can pick that growth rate. So if it makes more sense in your practice to give them 1.5%, do that, but be consistent with what you're giving your client. The other thing is there are only one health question on the application. So you're going to love that. It's very easy to implement and get done. And you can write it on anyone from age 0 to 99. So if you have a client who has a bunch of grandchildren and they've got money, they're just, they're not going to use in their lifetime other than if they went into care, they can do these on their grandchildren. They can do them on themselves for sure. But you got a wide range of age there that you can work with. And there's only one health question, like I explained to you. If your client answers no, they're a standard issue, and if they issue yes, they're a guaranteed issue. The difference you're going to see is in the commission. Obviously, guaranteed issue is going to pay a little bit lower than a standard issue, but all single pays are immediate full death benefits. So if they put 15 in there and they started with 15.6 and they died 10 months later, that full benefit is going to be paid out to help them take care of the final expenses. So you can skip through that one there, Adam. Here's the beauty. Now, I've been in this business for 30 years, and I remember when I wrote my very first annuity application. It was in 1993. I was sitting in a dry cleaners in Marion, Ohio, and I sold a $25,000 annuity. Heck, I couldn't even believe somebody was going to let me walk out of their business with a $25,000 check. But at that time when I wrote the application, it was 3 pieces of paper for the annuity. And one of those pages was a receipt that I left behind. So obviously, if any of you do any traditional life insurance or annuity premium, you understand that those applications now can get upwards of almost 40 pages with some of the carriers. With National Guardian Life, it couldn't be easier to do. You've got 2 pieces of paper and your state disclosure for replacement, and you're done. Or if you're doing a 1035 exchange, you'll need that. So that slide that we just went by, that was the top of the application. So very simple information there. There's where they're going to answer the health question. The next page, Adam, is going to be the bottom of the application where your client's going to sign off that that's what they want to do. The next page is if you pick up cash from them, you're going to leave them a receipt that you're taking their money and going to bring them a contract back. And then this page is going to be your assignment form. In other words, it's irrevocable. It's going to go into the funeral trust. Now, this is important. I tell all my clients, and I'm very adamant, I've been doing this for 14 years, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this is an irrevocable plan. Don't call me in a month. Don't call me in 5 years to get cash out. Don't tell me you want to borrow from it. It's never going to be accessible until you die, because that's what we're doing it for, is to take care of your final expenses. I have never once in 14 years had a client call me asking me to access any kind of money out of either one of these plans. So you got to be adamant with them. Go through the disclosure. It's very simple. They're going to sign at the bottom. But down here, this is where if like the attorney next door would come to me and say, hey, look, we're trying to qualify for Medicaid by the end of the month. We can't wait the 45 days. We want to give you the money. We want to waive the 45 days before it goes into the irrevocable trust, and we want it put in there at issue. Well, we can sign down here that we understand we're giving up the right to cancel the policy or return the premium, and we're not going to want the 45 days. We want that money allocated in there immediately. So that's where the crisis planning part of it would come in, but we can certainly address that with the client. So, you know, when you're presenting to clients, it's really no different than anything else. When I sold that first annuity back in 1993, I mean, heck, let's be honest, I was very new to the business, so I probably didn't fully understand everything I needed to know. But now here we are in 2017, I could teach a class on annuities. I mean, I've done them now. I think we're over, you know, it's a lot of annuity premium and a lot of deals. So this is no different. When you're presenting to the client, you're really looking to get comfortable. And what I tell all new producers is start with your current client base. If you're a person that's good at doing annual reviews, or you've kind of slacked off in that area and it's uncomfortable to reach back out to that client, this is a great tool for that. Because if it were me, I would reach out to my client, one that I'm always in contact with, so one that hasn't drifted away, and I would say, hey, when I sat down with them at the annual review, I'd say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, would you agree that all of the advice that I've given you in the past and that we've implemented has worked out the way that I said it would? Well, your clients are going to tell you, yeah, they believe in you. Well, there was something that we didn't address that's come to my attention that's very important that we're going to go ahead and get handled for you. So you're going to review the issues and you're going to discuss the needs with them, and then you're going to stress that benefit of planning ahead. I had an agent at the last academy. He said, wow, well, I can see why you do so much production. You've got the story about your dad to tell. And I said, well, you've got that story too. You may have to spin it and say, hey, I was at a conference and I heard a guy talk about this and I realized this was an area that we didn't do for our clients and we want to get this done. It's important. And then you're going to stress that it can be easily used with any funeral home. But here's something real important. We picked up a lot of our money on 1035 exchanges from existing life insurance. If you ask your typical client, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, do you understand when you pass away that you've got $10,000 of cash value in your existing life insurance and you have a death benefit of $12,000, that the company does not pay you both of those amounts? They only pay you the higher, which is your death benefit. Well, the reason we point that out to clients is if you explain that to them and then you tell them that, hey, you've got $10,000 at risk of being lost to a nursing home and you really only have a $2,000 benefit for assuming all of that risk, why don't we take your cash value, 1035 exchange it into the funeral trust, protect that money from a nursing home. It's going to grow at the interest rate that we're talking about, and you know it's going to be there for your final expenses. When I did my seminar plans and clients would come in and they would bring those old musty policies, I used to, 14 years ago, I'd push them aside. Now we delve into them because there's a lot of those paid up plans that you can get moved over to National Guardian Life. And then again, we only get paid when we close the sale. So you're going to give that client the peace of mind of knowing they've planned ahead and that you've protected assets for them. You're never going to get a client disappointed in you if you're able to accomplish those goals. So where do you find the money? One of my common phrases when I'm talking about this with a potential client is I will say to them, you know what, realistically, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you're not even buying anything today. And really think about it. They're not. They're just taking money that's countable from a Medicaid spend down situation, and they're moving it over to something that's going to protect the money and be there for them when their family needs it the most. So we find the money everywhere. When you ask a client, have you prepaid your funeral, and a lot of them will say, no, I haven't, but my daughter knows I have a CD at the bank, and that's to be used for my funeral if I pass away. Well, when I explained to her that CD rates are low, that the money's 100% susceptible to a Medicaid spend down, and that we can simply take it, move it over, get you a better interest rate, and make sure it's going to be there for you when your daughter needs it, it's a very powerful story. Maybe you're a big annuity producer and you never took any trail plans on your annuities, and so you've got all this dead money laying there with the client. Take the penalty-free withdrawal out. Have the company withhold the tax, because that puts the client at ease. They're not going to owe taxes, and fund a plan for them. Again, you're really not selling them anything. You're repositioning the asset to give them a benefit for their family. So again, the clients have the money. It's not new money. When you're looking at the brochures here, the ones that we use the most are the ones that flank that understanding Medicaid. So we're using the estate planning trust and the funeral expense trust. I love to tell this story about these two pamphlets. I have a client that's about 15 minutes from my office here. They had a couple policies with Nationwide Insurance, which has a very strong presence here. They're located in Columbus. But I went out and talked to them about their cash value and everything I've shared with you guys today. And they said, well, John, we want to think about it. Now, I don't have a problem letting people think about it. But what I do is I set a definitive time for that next day to call them back. I'm not going to wait a week. This is not that big of a decision. So what I did is I told her, I said, you know what, that's fine. What I will do is I'll give you guys a call tomorrow about 1 o'clock and just let me know whether it's something you want to do or not. True story, the next morning, the office rings in at 9 o'clock. It's her. It's the wife. She said, hey, John, I just want to let you know we read the brochures last night. We don't need to wait till 1 o'clock to hear from you. We want to get the appointment scheduled. Let's just get this money moved. So again, there are trifold that are very consumer friendly that somebody can actually understand. So with National Guardian Life, you've got a company that's got over 100 years of service of what they do. They're very good at this. It's their niche, if you will. But within, like anything else, we want a strong financial company that's going to be there when we tell our clients that they are going to be there. And they certainly live by that motto. I will tell you, in 14 years of doing business with National Guardian Life, I've never had one issue. I can't say that about any other carrier in any aspect of my business that I've done business with. So very happy about that. They've got a great website that's for the agent that you can go on, and once you're on there, you're able to pull up everything from a PowerPoint that walks them through what I showed you about buying the policy, at going into the trust, and how it pays out. You can order the brochures on here. You can get them customized with your company information on the back. And then where it says reports there, I will tell you, if I were to have wrote an application today with National Guardian Life, I do everything 2-day U.S. mail to them, guaranteed. They would have got that on Monday. My commissions will be in my account by Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest. So their submission to commission is fantastic. I can assure you that. So why sell the product? Again, I showed you the stats. The clients, they need it. They're thinking about it. It's a great income opportunity. I'm going to share that with you here in a couple minutes. The trusts are free, so there's no fees. And in 14 years, I ask every client this that we do business with, has anyone ever talked to you about an irrevocable funeral trust? Never once has a client told me yes. So again, if you've got that in your portfolio to share with a client, chances are you don't have any competition other than that funeral home. but I think you have enough things that are positive to keep them from going there. I talked about the funds being portable, talked about the company itself. Gives your client that peace of mind. And if you don't like paperwork, I'm telling you right now, when you write your first app, you're going to be tickled to death. And that's the key. When I've found with most of the agents that we work with, once they get that first 1 or 2 apps under their belt and submitted, they're off and running, and now it's just part of their process. So some of the biggest challenges with this, well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Adam. They took that slide out. You're fine there. So we'll talk about the compensation. If you just had 2 couples each month, and I just used this of putting $10,000 per spouse into the plan, and let's say you only work 10 months a year, that's going to add about $40,000 to your bottom line. So again, when I look at things and I'm running my business, when I would look at this and I would say, let's say my business cost to run my office for $2,500 a month. So I got rent, maybe I'm paying a staff person to help me out. Well, gee, if I can just implement this into what I'm already doing and I can generate 30 grand a year in additional revenue, that just covered my office expenses. Maybe that opened up more money to market what I'm trying to do and get my word out to clients. So again, it's great compensation once you use the plan and start utilizing it with your clients. Here, if you just look at the upper left hand, this is a face amount of $0 to $60,000. It's a single pay. And if you go down there to age 61 to 65, you can see that a standard issue, so you got a married couple, they're 65, they each max funded here in Ohio at $15,000 each. That's a $4,000 commission event for our agency at 13.31. Say they're both unhealthy and we pick up the same 30,000. It's a $2,500 commissionable event. We can live with those. We're okay with that. So you can see there, once you're contracted, you'll get this commission grid, and you can see up there I'm showing you the growth rate at 2%, and then that you'll see the other schedules based on the interest rate that you would like to offer through your business. So every year, National Guardian Life does a really great trip. I've been on a couple of them with them. It's all first class. I think last year we went to Marco Island, Florida. But not only is it a great trip, but it's like the IAMS trip that Adam was talking about that we'll be attending here at the Boulders. For me, the trips are great. But if you're doing well enough to make the trips, you're doing well enough that you could probably pay for your own trip if you wanted to go on one. The beauty is seeking out the top producers and finding out what they're doing, because in this business, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to find out what the successful guys and girls are doing, and then you got to duplicate it. So again, I love these conferences. I love the great trips and the places, but I love seeking out the people that are at the top so that I can bring myself to that level. So some of the biggest challenges that we find with this is getting comfortable with the concept. You know, like I told you, 1993, I sold that first annuity. Did I have to get comfortable? Yeah, I'm sure I was as nervous as could be. But today, a client slides a $500,000 check across the table. We don't even blink our eyes. It's just part of the annuity process. So you got to learn how to stress the benefits to the clients of pre-planning and keep it on top of your mind, every client, every day. Write this down. It's a very simple phrase. Have you prepaid your funeral? It is a yes or no question. If they tell me, no, we haven't, I know that we're going to go into that conversation. If they tell me, yes, we've prepaid our funeral, because you will hear that, then my next question is, do you have any funds that you would like to know, no matter what would happen, that they would absolutely be protected from a nursing home spend down? And then I'm going to start talking to them about the estate planning trust and getting through that 5-year look back period. So one of the things that we do once you're a licensed agent with National Guardian Life, Mark Raymakers, who usually hosts this webinar with me, but Adam, I certainly appreciate your help today. He has this in a digital format. I'll tell you the story behind it and why we implemented it in our practice. I got a call one day from a very good client's daughter, and she said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know that mom passed away. And I figured you'd want to know that." And I said, "Well, yeah, I do want to know that because, you know, after you get through the funeral and everything else, we're going to need to sit down to talk about these annuities we have with her." And the girl promptly said to me, "John, we appreciate that, but we don't need to sit down with you. We already talked with the guy at the bank, and he said he'd handle everything for us." Well, what that told me is $500,000 just walked out the door of our agency, and I made a promise that I was going to do everything I could to not let that happen again. So I created this guide for beneficiaries. And what I did is I have the gentleman who works for me. I printed up a bunch of the guys, and I said, "Hey, I want you to go out and see all of our clients that we know are very good clients for us, that we would have a potential of more business." So he took this guide and he went out and started seeing the clients. And in 6 months, and I want you to remember, you think your clients tell you everything, they don't. Because in 6 months, he went out, he implemented the guide, he did a new fact finder that goes along with the guide, and then he ended up writing $1.5 million in additional annuity premium, $200,000 in single life, and about $150,000 in additional National Guardian Life business for the agency in a 6-month period. And we found out it wasn't because we're so smart here at Inting Financial, but we had a tool that would allow the client to open up to their fullest potential and tell us everything that they had. And it was shocking with some of the clients that we thought we knew everything because we're pretty diligent in our fact finding. People don't tell you everything. So practice makes perfect. So with this guide, you can go ahead to the next page, Adam. I wanted the people to know, for help settling my estate, call my advisor, and it says Inting Financial. It's done really nicely. So you would have access to this. You would just plug your company information into it. We are working with the elder law attorney next door to us on updating a couple things in it. So, I mean, it's still good to go now, but when we get those updates, we'll certainly push that out. So we make this available. And one of the nice things with this is the data collector that comes with it. So if you go on the next page there, Adam, you're going to see that we have a financial organizer. So what we do is we say this to the client: "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we know if something happens to you guys, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. We put this beneficiary guide together so that you can let your kids know that if anything happens to you, this is who they need to reach out to." And what we're going to do today is we're going to update all of your financial information so that if I had never met you before, I could walk in, I could pick up your beneficiary guide. It has the financial organizer in it, and without ever meeting you, I could start taking care of some of the things that have to be taken care of when you pass away. So they start opening up. They start, you know, because as you go through the organizer, you can go to the next page for me there, Adam. You can see we're going to ask them a lot of questions. We want to know about those kids. Those are potential clients. We're going to start asking them all over again about their financials, but we're going to dig deep with them. We want to know everything. So if you go to page 3, you're going to see there's a question there. I'm sorry, Adam, page 4. You're going to see there's a question there, number 8. It says, "Have you prepaid your funeral?" So we're going to ask them that question when we're collecting this organizer. This is what allowed us to write the additional $150,000 in premium with NGL. And if they tell us no, then we're not just going to start, rambling into a pitch about National Guardian Life, but we're definitely going to know that's a talking point as we move forward. So that's the financial organizer. You can go ahead, Adam, click on through that. That's all made available to you once you're a licensed agent. One thing I will say before we open it up for the questions is National Guardian Life has a guide that the client fills out. And everything I didn't know about my father, down to the rank of military, favorite flower, his mother's maiden name. It's a place for your client to document all that. So when we write a National Guardian Life, what we say to the client is we give them that glossy 2-page the memorial guide, and we tell them that, hey, we're going to be back with your policy in about a week. And when we get back, if you could get all that filled out, that would be awesome, because we're going to put your policy with it. And again, if we had never met you before, we could take this policy and this guide and hand it to a funeral director and get your funeral taken care of without ever have met you. So again, it's powerful. It works. I'm talking from a 14-year history. I'm talking from helping over 500 agents get up and running with the program. It works, and I thank you for your time and letting me talk to you about it. And if there's any questions out there, Adam, I'd certainly be happy to answer them.
Great. Well, thank you very much, John. Absolutely fantastic, very unique out there. So I do have a couple of questions that came through. One of them, just kind of recapping, no, we touched on it, but just to recap for everyone, I think it'd be beneficial about the actual Medicaid protection, that just asking for additional clarification between the funeral trust and the estate planning trust.
Sure. So with the funeral trust, when you put money in it, if that's going to exclude the money immediately. So if I had a couple that came in, they said, hey, we both think we're going into the nursing home in 2 months. We know we're going to have to start spending assets. We want to make sure that we have enough money to definitely take care of our funerals, so that, we're not out of cash. Because here's what's interesting. If you go meet with an elder law attorney and you're going through Medicaid planning, the first thing they're going to tell you, what do you think it is? They're going to tell you, go prepay your funeral, because they know that's an excludable asset. So with this, any money you put into the Irrevocable Funeral Trust is excluded immediately if you want it, if you're in that situation, or at least at the latest 45 days later when they put the policy into the funeral trust. With the estate planning trust, it is basically a 5-year look back. So if you would go into care in that first 60 months, they can look back at that as an asset that is includable in your spend down amount. But if you're like my clients, the teachers that I have, and they're both in great health, a year from now, they've got $200,000 that's been earning 2% interest for 4 years. And if they both got sick and went into a nursing home, that money can never be touched, because they're through that 60-month look back period. That money's just going to sit in there, grow, earn interest, and when they pass away, it's going to pay out probate free and tax free to their children. So that's the difference in those two trusts. One's immediate and the other one's a 5-year look back.
And the funeral trust accomplishes that immediate protection because you cannot name a second beneficiary. Any excess funds
correct. No incidence of ownership. Good point, Adam.
Great. All right. And then one other here. No, we threw a lot of expenses out there early on in the presentation about the expenses of a typical funeral, traditional funeral, and there were a couple different expenses out there. But if I'm not mistaken, the average traditional funeral expense is about $14,000. Is that correct?
That is correct. And, we ask clients that when we settle a claim. We ask them, hey, how much was the funeral? We hear here in Columbus anywhere from $12,000 to over $15,000. And it depends on, how elaborate the family, what they're doing. But it can definitely range in that price range.
Okay. Good. And we actually just had a couple more. I know we're over our time here, but we've got some good questions. So
fine.
Okay. So this is a good question, and I'm sure one that you get asked quite a bit, John. What's the advantage of the NGL over prepaying your expenses with the funeral home directly?
So here's our theory on it. I don't care what state you live in. Just go on there and Google misappropriation of prepaid funeral home funds at a funeral home locally. And you're going to see in there that a lot of articles will come up. And so what happens is, I'm just going to read this to you because on my flight back, I had a USA Today and this article was in it. It's going to take me about 2 seconds to read it, but it'll put it in perspective. A funeral director is charged with stealing nearly $297,000 from people who paid for prearranged funerals. Bucks County authorities say David Faust is accused of forging several death certificates, including that of a woman in 2003, so he could spend more than $8,700 that she had prepaid for her funeral. The woman is still alive. So you're going to find that a lot of people's trust in the funeral homes are waning. And as that, few bad apples, we know not all funeral homes are like that. But your local funeral home could get sold. It could go out of business. Maybe new owners take over the client doesn't like. With this, you can do the planning at any time. You're setting the funds aside so that you're in control. They're being held by an insurance company, and you know they're going to be there when you need them.
Great. All right. A couple more here. Just wanting to clarify that the estate planning trust is also irrevocable.
Correct.
Yeah. So there is no chance at accessing any of those funds. In fact, it may be worthwhile to reiterate the point that you make to all of your clients before putting money in these products.
Every single one of them, Adam, they know it is irrevocable. I say that 10 times in a presentation because, to be quite frank with you, you shouldn't be putting clients' money in here that they may need. I mean, if you go meet with a client and they got $45,000 in savings and they're living on Social Security, probably prepaying their funeral today is not the most important thing to get rid of $30,000. That's money they need to live off of. So, choose wisely and explain it to the client.
Yeah. And then the last one here, just touching again on the funeral trust. If someone puts $15,000 in the funeral trust and the funeral is only going to cost $12,000, what happens to the additional $3,000?
And that is going to be paid back to the estate of the insured. And then typically, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but our estate planning attorney tells us that in Ohio that usually is going to fall under simplified probate. And I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to speak as I am one, but it's typically, if their affairs are in order up to that point, it's a pretty simplistic process to get the funds back to the family.
Great. Well, I think that is it for the questions. So great questions, everyone. Thanks for sending those over. And thank you, John, for taking the time out of your day to walk through that great, unique product with us. So we'll be following up with...
I was just going to say, Adam, I appreciate that very much. And IAMS does a great job. If you guys have any questions, I know they'll follow up with you, and you can certainly reach out to them to get them answered.
Absolutely. I'll be following up with everyone individually here. So thank you, everyone, as well, for taking time out of your Friday morning. We know your time's valuable. Again, it's time you're spending with us and not out there in the field. So we certainly recognize that and appreciate that. We hope you found this a good use of your time. With that, have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, and we will be in touch soon. Take care.